I still hear it when the house is quiet. The soft click of a door opening. The faint scrape of slippers against cold tile. Sounds like that stay with you, even when the moment is long gone. That morning began like so many others, with hope folded neatly inside my purse. I woke before the sun, the way I always did on the days I visited my son. Old habits die slowly when they are born from love. I chose the ripest apples from the bowl. I baked bread the way he loved as a child, golden on the outside, soft in the middle. I wrapped a small green plant in brown paper because his wife once mentioned she liked fresh air in the house. I remembered that sentence the way mothers remember everything, quietly, carefully, without expecting praise. On the drive there, I told myself this was what family looked like now. Short visits, careful words, gentle effort. I believed love could still fix distance if I tried hard enough, if I spoke softly enough, if I gave without asking. When I arrived, the house looked warm from the outside. Curtains moved gently in the window. Sunlight rested on the porch like it belonged there. I remember thinking how strange it was that a house could look so welcoming while holding so much silence inside. I helped build this life, not just with money but with years of sacrifice. With sleepless nights. With prayers whispered over a small boy's bed when he had nightmares and fever dreams. The door opened. She stood there first. Her smile was polite, thin, practiced. The kind strangers use when they don't plan to invite you in. She didn't step aside. She didn't take the bags from my hands. She blocked the doorway without touching me, without raising her voice, without cruelty. "We don't need your help anymore," she said. "Please leave. We're trying to build our own space." The words didn't land right away. They floated, weightless, searching for somewhere to settle. I looked past her. My son stood in the living room. His shoulders were tense. His eyes avoided mine. He didn't move. He didn't speak my name. And in that silence, something inside me quietly cracked. But what I didn't know then was that this moment would change everything, not because of what they said, but because of what I would choose to do next. But as I stood there on that porch, holding gifts meant for people who no longer wanted me, I had no idea that the silence in front of me was about to uncover a truth they never expected. One that would quietly turn the power in this family upside down. That first night, after I was asked to leave, sleep refused to come. I lay on my narrow bed, staring at the ceiling as the fan hummed softly above me, the sound too gentle for the storm inside my chest. My phone rested beside my pillow, face up, as if it might suddenly remember me. Every passing car outside made my heart jump. Every distant sound felt like hope knocking and then walking away. Morning arrived slowly, without mercy. I made tea out of habit, set the cup on the table, and forgot it was there until it went cold. I replayed the moment again and again. Her voice, controlled, polite. His silence, heavy, final. I searched my memory for mistakes like a woman counting coins, wondering where she had overspent. Maybe I visited too often. Maybe I talked too much. Maybe I loved too loudly. That is what abandonment does. It convinces you that your kindness was the problem. For years I had supported them quietly. I never announced it. Small bills paid before they became emergencies. Groceries delivered when money ran thin. Repairs handled when the roof leaked or the heater failed. I did it without being asked because I believed family meant shared weight. Not careful accounting. Love, I thought, was supposed to feel like this, tiring, invisible, necessary. But after that day I stopped. Not in anger. Not to punish anyone. I stopped because something inside me finally understood that love must breathe both ways, or it slowly suffocates the one doing all the giving. Days passed without a call. No message. No apology. No question asking how I was holding up. Only silence, thick and unmoving. And in that silence my eyes began to open. I realized how often they had reached out only when something was needed. Money. Favors. Help. Advice. My voice had become useful, not valued. I noticed how conversations had changed over the years. Shorter. Colder. Always rushed. Always ending with a request. One evening I walked to the nearby park and sat on a bench. Children laughed somewhere behind me. Couples passed, hands intertwined. Other women my age fed birds with slow, patient smiles. For the first time in years I was not rushing home to fix something for someone else. I breathed deeply. I felt sadness, yes, but beneath it something unfamiliar. Space. And in that space, a quiet realization began to form, one that would soon force my son to see me very differently. Because while they believed my silence meant weakness, they had no idea that I was finally remembering a truth I had kept hidden for years. And that truth was about to change everything. Silence did not break me. It revealed them. I carried the truth the way some women carry old photographs, carefully folded, kept close to the heart, brought out only when the moment demands it. For years, I had kept the house documents in a small brown folder at the back of my drawer. The same drawer that held faded letters, my late husband's watch, and receipts from a lifetime of careful saving. No one ever asked about those papers. They assumed what they wanted to assume. My son and his wife spoke freely about the house, renovations, future plans, walls they wanted to tear down, rooms they wanted to expand. They spoke as if the foundation already belonged to them. I listened quietly. I smiled. I never corrected them. Not because I was afraid, but because I believed trust would grow with time. It didn't. I had seen too many women grow old and powerless because they gave everything away too early. When you surrender your security in the name of love, you don't just lose money, you lose your voice. So I kept my name where it belonged. Not out of deception, but out of self-respect. A week after I was asked to leave, my phone finally rang. I stared at the screen for a long moment before answering. My heart beat faster, but my voice remained calm. "Mom," my son said, and I heard something new hiding beneath his words. Nervousness. "We went to the bank today. There's some confusion. They said your name is still on the property." I closed my eyes. Not in triumph. In grief. "Yes," I said softly. "Because I never transferred ownership." The silence on the other end of the line was heavy. Understanding was slowly catching up with assumption. "But we thought," he began. "I know what you thought," I said gently. "You thought love meant surrender. You thought I would always step aside." He didn't argue. He couldn't. I explained without raising my voice. "I kept things this way because I needed security. Because I am old, not foolish. Because kindness should never require self-destruction." When the call ended, I sat at my kitchen table and cried. Not for the house, not for the money, but for the boy who once promised to take care of me when I was old. And when the tears dried, something stronger took their place. Because that phone call was only the beginning, and the next decision I made would force them to finally understand what respect really costs. After that call, everything shifted. Not loudly, not dramatically. It shifted the way the air changes before a storm, quiet, tense, impossible to ignore. My son began calling more often. His voice was softer now, careful around the edges. He asked how I was sleeping, if I needed groceries, if I was feeling lonely. Questions he had not asked in years suddenly found their way back into his mouth. His wife too sent short messages. Polite ones. Neutral ones. As if kindness could be switched on when convenient. I answered, but I did not chase. I listened, but I did not explain myself again. Because something had become very clear to me. Love that appears only when power shifts is not love. It is fear wearing good manners. One afternoon they asked if I could come by to talk. "Just a family conversation," my son said. I stood in front of my mirror before leaving. The woman looking back at me had more lines than she used to, but her eyes were steady. I chose my purple dress, the one my husband once said made me look strong. Not beautiful. Strong. That mattered more now. When I arrived, they sat together on the couch. Their hands were folded neatly. Their words rehearsed. They spoke about misunderstandings. About stress. About how hard marriage can be. I nodded. I let them finish. Then I spoke. "I didn't come to argue," I said. "I came to be clear." I told them I would not be moving back in. I told them the house would remain in my name. I told them I was willing to help when asked, but no longer willing to be expected. My son looked stunned, as if boundaries were a language he had never learned. His wife's smile tightened, then disappeared altogether. They had hoped for forgiveness, for comfort, for things to return to the way they were. But I was no longer that woman. I wasn't angry. I wasn't cruel. I was finished explaining why I deserved respect. When I stood to leave, my son reached for my hand. I let him hold it for a moment. Not as a mother begging for connection, but as a woman choosing peace. Because while they believed this conversation was the end of the conflict, they had no idea that my quiet choice was about to teach them the hardest lesson of all. Days turned into weeks, and with each sunrise I felt lighter. I no longer waited by the phone. I no longer baked extra bread or bought the ripest apples for visits that felt obligatory. I walked in the mornings breathing deeply, letting the crisp air remind me that I still existed outside their demands. I joined a small book club, laughed with women who had no reason to care about my past, and for the first time in decades I lived without apology. The house still in my name became a symbol, not of power, not of revenge, but of survival, of dignity. Then one quiet afternoon my son came to visit alone. He sat across from me at my kitchen table, fidgeting, eyes downcast. For a long moment we said nothing. Finally he whispered, "I'm sorry. I didn't protect you. I didn't see." I smiled gently, holding my purple dress against the light streaming through the window. "Now you're learning," I said. "And that is enough." He nodded, a weight lifted from his shoulders. I did not cry. I did not scold. I simply let the moment settle. Because I had learned something that could not be taught with words alone. You don't win by controlling others. You win by choosing yourself. I am still a grandmother. Still gentle. Still loving. But I am also strong. Strong enough to walk away from disrespect. Strong enough to protect my heart without closing it. Strong enough to let silence reveal truth. That evening I sat by my window watching the sun sink behind the buildings. My tea was warm, my hands steady, and for the first time in years my heart felt free. Quiet. Calm. Unshakable. And finally mine. Sometimes the hardest lessons in life come not from fights or arguments, but from the courage to stand quietly, choose yourself, and let others realize the truth on their own. If this story moved you, subscribe for more real-life stories that inspire and remind us what matters most. Click a video to continue the journey.